as long as I have a boat, I'm not letting the people around me drown.
Mm.
And that's something that's my heart. If I have a boat, I'm making sure people don't drown. And I don't have a big boat, but I got life preservers and I'm willing to throw them out. And I got life-saving rings and I'm willing to throw them out and attach them to my boat and help get them to safety, because we're called to be capital C church. Again, I'm not building my kingdom. We're building the kingdom of God.
Welcome to the Church Digital Podcast. Through this podcast, we'll talk about the technological innovations within the church. But more than tech for tech itself, we'll address deeper questions. Is disciple making possible digitally? How should we approach the digital mission field? Can a biblically grounded church operate in digital space? Oh, and where does the metaverse fit into all this? Whether you're a big or small church, an established church, or a startup church plant, the Church Digital's goal is to help churches like yours learn to be a multiplying church, digitally and physically. Our heart, that churches like yours would discover a newfound focus on disciple making that will revolutionize your church. And now, here's your host, Jeff Reed.
All right, hey, welcome to the Church Digital Podcast. Once again, Jeff Reed, the host here, founder of the Church Digital, co-founder, Digital Church Network. And I have a lot of fun jobs. And I love working with organizations that are championing this idea of digital church. And as we talk about digital churches that are operating in digital space and metaverse space, there's lots of unique stories, unique expressions of these churches. And some are controversial. The Dungeons and Dragons Bible study gets some eyebrows raised. Anytime we talk virtual reality church, there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable with the virtual reality baptisms and communion and some of that stuff that's happening in there. But when I talk about Grand Theft Auto Church, which actually was a DJ Soto experiment, that right there is like, I'm not really sure. I myself, I'm not really sure about the GTA church. But I love the fact that he's experimenting. But one of these churches that anytime I bring it up in a conversation, it always brings up a smile with whoever I'm talking about. However angry they are with me, I can get them to smile at merely mentioning the name Barbecue Church. And so we Barbecue Assemblies of God, if I am correct in this. And so we're bringing into the conversation here Andre Anderson today. Andre, man, thanks for jumping on the show here.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. It's hilarious and fun.
So Andre, and I want to actually set him up to tell the story here in a second. Actually, we'll just do it right now. So Andre, you are lead pastor of Barbecue Assemblies of God. Okay, how did you get here? Like, give me not the 30-minute version, give me the shorter version, but tell me how you got to the place where you are now leading a digital church called Barbecue Assemblies of God.
Well, it started out, 2020 was the year that everybody tried something new or stayed stagnant. So,
sure.
And I started smoking meat. I got a smoker. I always loved to cook. I've always worked in 4-star, 5-star dining establishments. So I'm like, okay, let's start smoking meat. I started, and then I was looking at barbecue Facebook groups, and they were kind of toxic. They would say like really random, terrible things. And so I started a Facebook group called Barbecue Assembly of God because I thought it was hilarious. And I figured if you're in this group, you're not going to talk crazy, hopefully. And if you do, I'll kick you out. I'm okay with that. And I did that. And one of my friends across the street is another brother, goes to a church in the area. He barbecues hardcore. And he comes over. I was doing a prime rib roast, and he said, he's looking at me. He's like, hey, man, Barbecue Assembly of God is blowing up. And I said, am I the lead pastor? And he said, yeah. And then I felt like God spoke to me and said, you're going to start a church called Barbecue Church. And I said, okay. And so I thought I was just going to be doing training videos of, how to cook this different stuff. And God said, you're a pastor. You've always been a pastor. And I've always done youth ministry. I do youth ministry, consulting and helping youth ministries grow. And he goes, no, you're going to lead people to Jesus through barbecue. And I said, okay. And so I looked into it, started to go down this path. connected with great people at Church Marketing University, and they helped me start. And I mean, we launched Barbecue Church last May 29th was our launch date. And it's been fun. And that's how we got here, technically.
Awesome. So you were, unpack here a little bit. You were running the Facebook group, Barbecue Assemblies of God. And that actually led you to start the church. So what does, and it was off air, we were talking about unique expressions of church and things like that. And so, like, what does Barbecue Church, what does that look like?
Our whole thought process and it's kind of like our mission statement is we want to feed people biblically, spiritually, and literally. And I just preach sermons. It's quick, 7 to 11 minute sermons. I'm not going to get any awards or any accolades on social media for being deeply profound and deeply theological. It's not my audience. It's not who I was called to reach. We are out here to reach those people who don't want to step inside of a church. We're out here to reach those people who are on the outside who don't want to step inside of a church building. We're looking at the fact that the majority of people who go to church are women and their husbands stay home.
Mm-hmm.
And so their husbands aren't moving forward on their faith journey. Well, now these wives can point to Barbecue Church and say, why don't you watch Barbecue Church's sermon? It's 7 to 11 minutes. You watch it, and then they can begin to grow together in their spiritual journey, which is important. It's an important piece, and it's something that we're lacking. And for me, being a person who works multiple side jobs, I'm out here. I'm hanging out. Like when this recording is over, I'm going to go and set up parking for an air show. And the people that I work with are not followers of Jesus yet. And they watch Barbecue Church. And one of those guys texted me when I was on my way to fly to Atlanta. He said, I just want you to know I'm giving everything to Jesus today.
Wow.
That's Barbecue Church. Like he didn't go to church. He watches our services.
Often that's beautiful. Oftentimes we talk about how, by doing digital church, by being not a physical church doing digital ministry, but by doing what you're doing, planting and running a digital church, we're reaching different types of people. And that's an incredible testimony right there. Now, was this somebody you knew? Was it a friend? Was it somebody like, how are you connected to him? Was it just through Barbecue's Assemblies of God? Like what's that relationship?
It's through parking. He works in a parking company with me.
Okay.
Yes. We do parking logistics and we park cars. A coworker.
A coworker. That's beautiful. And like he's not
a Marine.
Okay. A leatherneck. Interesting. Very cool.
Parkour. And he watches every week. Another guy that's with us right now, Brian, I'm about to go work with him. He watches every week. And his son just gave his life to the Lord. And Brian texted me to let me know, hey, just so you know that my son went to this church with his fiance and he gave his life to the Lord because he felt like it was time. And I think that you should know as a person that's close to us. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Praise God.
Barbecue Church, like, are you seeing, it sounds like within your relationships, within your circle of influence, there are people that are connecting. Are you finding it's reaching beyond that, like outside different states, cities, across the country? Like, what's the reach of it right now?
So we have 5 campuses in 5 other states right now.
Okay, so what does a campus look like for Barbecue Church?
So what they do is they've made this up. They just started this, and I'm like, sounds good to me. But they have started to invite their community to their houses or to a building to bring smoked meat and to bring food once a month. And they watch one of the services together and they do life together and they talk together. And so it's like a once a month small group where they watch the sermon, but they're all eating together, they're fellowshipping together, and it's people in their community. So We have, Colorado Springs. We have Virginia, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and North Carolina. And it's just people who have found us along the way. About 4 months ago, I was in Reading, Pennsylvania at an air show, and somebody who I connected with because of the Barbecue Assembly of God Facebook group, he came to meet me for the first time while I was parking cars. And I had never met him before in my life. It's what I do. I love people. So if I'm in your area, I'm going to reach out. When I was at the World Games in Birmingham, Alabama, and somebody from Barbecue Church who I had never met before lives in Georgia. Her and her husband drove 2 hours to Birmingham, got a hotel room just so that they could come and take me out for barbecue at their favorite place in Birmingham. And then they gifted me 2 cutting boards.
That's interesting. Just this reach that you're getting. As you've tried to, establish, you've been doing this less than a year. Like, did you have a target audience? Now, barbecue is broad, but it's also narrow in that. Like, you mentioned men earlier. Were you targeting the male? Did you have to come up with like a persona type of person that you were going after? What does that process look like for you?
Our basic target audience is people who eat.
That's a pretty broad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you eat, then you're my target audience.
So the guy that's eating sushi in Japan, let's barbecue sushi. Let's find a way to make it work. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I will barbecue sushi right now. That's such a really great idea.
I'll come over and eat barbecue sushi. Write it down. We got to figure out how to do this.
I got to write this down because that's a really great idea. I can do smoked. Okay, we shouldn't go into that.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
Okay, so what I can do is I can do smoked salmon rolls. I can do smoked tilapia rolls. I can do smoked mahi rolls. And I can get the sticky rice and cook it up because we have one of those big rice cookers. And then I can get the sushi deal. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then we'll do different types of smoked sushi that we can put on platters that people can eat when they come. So we'll do smoked sushi and then we'll do smoked charcuterie boards. And it'll be like tasting events, like a little appetizer deal. Oh my gosh, Jeffrey, you are a genius.
Well, I thought I was being a smart aleck, and you've used my powers against me. So there you go. I love sushi, by the way. So invite me over at least when we get there. That's beautiful. So what's the weirdest response you've gotten when you talk about Barbecue Church?
The weirdest response is honestly from people who were in a position to help fund what we do. And coincidentally, we've actually gotten no funding from anyone. So
those have been some weird responses. Yeah, I would imagine.
Very weird. Because they don't get it. And so Barbecue Church, technically, I'm an Assembly of God pastor, but Barbecue Church is not an Assembly of God church. So I'm Assembly of God, but Barbecue Church is an Assembly of God. And that's not because of anything with my district. I'm in the Illinois district, and my superintendent loves me and loves Barbecue Church. But when we were going down the thought process, the Lord said, you need to launch now. You can't wait. There's things that need to happen. And so we just went ahead and launched. And we're still working with the Assembly of God. If I give you my bylaws, you'll see it. But I've had people who have said, like, I'll talk to church planting organizations or different organizations out there who can give money. And they're like, well, how are you going to pay your bills? Or how come, like, why do you want to do church events for other churches? Because that's my heart. I want to do barbecue church events at other churches so that they can reach their barbecue community. And then they can do barbecue small groups so that they can continue to reach their community for Jesus through barbecue. And this guy says, why would you help grow another church when you can just build a church yourself and do it for yourself? And I said, because I'm not building my own kingdom. And then I got off the phone.
Let me ask you this: Did you have it? Like, was it hard for you to get started? You haven't gotten much funding. It doesn't sound like, but you've got this vision. You've got these locations scattered around. I know your heart to like help the physical church through barbecue. Try to be more. I want to say the word attractive, but try to just connect with people in different ways. Like, what was it? Was it hard for you to get started on this road?
It was, because I'm a vision person where I'm going towards what I want. And I'm also trying to build everything in sequences. I want to build a system. And so when I don't have the system in place, I get frustrated. And so I felt as though I needed to have everything working properly, is what I thought. I felt like I needed to have the camera, the this, the that, this, that. And it was actually my little brother back in Pittsburgh and another dude named Phil, who is not saved at all, who kicked my butt. And Phil, who I talk to probably 3 times a week, I work with him in his parking business, does not want anything to do with church, but watches Barbecue Church weekly and gives me critiques on my sermons. Okay. He pushed me and said, you're trying to make everything perfect. You just need to launch because you're a man of God. God has called you to do something. So get out there and do it and stop waiting.
Wow.
And he said it with a lot of expletives that I cannot say on your show because Garrett will kill me. But it hit my soul, because I was trying to just make it look the best and do everything perfect. And he's like, no, God called you to do this. Just do it. Just do it. And so it was difficult because of myself. And, granted, if somebody would have given me $10,000 on like upfront, it would have been nice.
Yeah.
But I'm not in debt. I have good credit, and we're moving forward.
Very cool. I know I myself, I struggled with that, trying to get the level of perfection, trying to get the excellence up. Ray DeArmas used to be the co-host here with the Church Digital podcast with me. He was actually the guy that was just, he wouldn't use the expletives that you're describing, but he would be constantly telling me, hey, let's just go. Hey, let's just go. Hey, let's just go. And it was funny. Like he sold it to me. He's like, hey, you know what? Let's just do a small series of like 6. We're just going to do like a short series of podcasts, 6 episodes. And, we're 240, 250 podcast episodes later. It's like, I think we blew past that six number, and doing really well with it. And if you go back, every once in a while I'll do this, or I'll have somebody will text me that they're doing it. They will. My first episode was god awful. Oh my gosh, and it's embarrassing, but you know what? You learn and you grow through it, and people use it, and you develop as a result of it. And so I would use the non-expletive version of probably what your friend told you, and tell that to somebody else to say maybe just give it a shot, experiment. What's the worst that's going to happen? It sounds like barbecue was always like your heart and target here, going after people who are like, that are capable of eating. How do you feel about the feeding tube? Like, does that? No, I'm kidding. Don't answer that question. You want to go ahead?
I'm like, I'll smoke it. I'll smoke it if you can put it.
Whatever.
You put it in a pan. I'll throw it in a smoker. You put it in a bag, man.
Was there, like, historically, are you an out of the box type of thinker? I mean, like previous to 2020, when everything went to pot and everybody's doing their own thing or doing all these new experiments, were you innovative and thinking outside of the box before that?
I'm an evangelist at heart. So everything is extreme for me. Everything's next level for me. And so if you give me a goal, I think I can do more. I believe God when he said immeasurably more than you can ask or imagine. So I kind of run with that. So right now I coach youth ministries on the side. If somebody calls and they're like, hey, coach my youth pastor. And, our youth ministries were growing, they're doubling in size in 3 months. I had a youth ministry in the Poconos that would have blown your mind if you would have seen what we were doing, but it wasn't what everyone else was. Everyone else was like, do bigger, do more, do this, do that. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to do 3 things at my youth service. And this is all we're going to do. And it's going to be the most dumbed down, most streamlined youth service ever. I was at a church of 100 people. We had 70 kids who were not churched, were coming every week. It's just out of the box works. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. It just doesn't make sense to me. I like to just sit down and ask God, where does he want us to go? And he's like, okay, Andre will take anything and run with it. So I'll give this idea to him.
So are there plans for like dessert church, sushi church, spinning this off, multiplying into other things?
There are some talks.
Okay.
There are some conversations happening in my fellowship with district officials and presbyters about how many non-traditional churches can we launch.
All right. I'm going to prophesy. I'm not even a charismatic person, but I'm going to prophesy over this right now. You will launch a foodie church network in the next 2 years. I want to see it. There is opportunities to expand beyond just barbecue. I'm not a barbecue guy. I'm really not. And I apologize. I know I'm speaking to the bishop, to the pope of barbecue, literally here. But we need to position you to be the pope of the food church network.
I'm with it. Here's the thing. If I made you some smoked cream cheese, it would change your life.
I've spent 14 years in DFW and in Austin. So I've had Texas barbecue all day long. It's nice. I'm not. And I say that to Kansas City people, and they're like, nuts. And then I say that to Carolina people. My parents used to live up in the Carolinas, and they get all offended, and everybody's literally pouring barbecue sauce down me through a spigot. And yeah.
Well, number one, that's where the problem lies. We're talking about barbecue sauce, and you just need the right things. You need the right things. Like if we did a smoked cream cheese, okay, put some crackers around it, some celery. I don't know if you're into carrots. I can't stand carrots. I hate carrots.
I do carrots.
But we do that. Right. We put all that together, and then you're dipping it in a smoked cream cheese. That you'll go, you know what? This is delicious. Or if I made you some apple pie baked beans.
All right. So where are we going to hook up? Because I gotta get some food.
Where do you live?
Miami.
Okay. Can you come to Fort Lauderdale January? Can you come to Fort Lauderdale in January?
Are you going to be in Fort Lauderdale in January?
Yeah.
All right, I'll come up.
Yeah.
I mean, this has nothing to do with bar. Like, I'll hang out with you if you're going to be down here.
No. Why not? Here's how we're going to do it. So the poolside barbecue battle at the Visit Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival is happening Friday the 13th. And I'm the manager, like hosting and the manager of that event. And then the grand tasting is the next day, the 14th of January.
How many jobs do you have?
8.
Man, I thought I had a lot of jobs. You beat me. What are your 8 jobs?
Oh, let's see. I got to look at a list.
Do you have enough fingers?
No, I have it on a list. So I'm the lead pastor of Barbecue Church.
Sure.
I'm a youth pastor, coach, and consultant.
2.
I parking and
3.
Parking and traffic logistics. I work. I'm an independent contractor for a company called Meter Feeder, which is pay for parking online service. I have another business that I launched called myeventprogram.com, where I do digital programs for major events all over the country. I build online businesses for entrepreneurs
6.
through like funnels and things of that sort. And then I got to find the other ones because I know there's more.
You got so many jobs, you can't even keep them straight.
Yeah, I'm also a wholesale jeweler.
7.
There's one more. Let me look.
Oh, there's so many questions in these jobs, by the way.
Right. And then I work for Jamie Paw. So he's an evangelist that specializes in generosity.
Okay.
So Paul is like PAUGH. I work for him and help him with all of his online stuff. And so I'm part of his team as well.
So you got 8 jobs. How do you have time for like doing the church thing? Or how do you have time for anything? Like how do you manage all this?
Very carefully. It's a thing of you pick and choose what you do. You pick and choose your timing. You have blocks of time that you do different things. And then there's times where other things fall to the side, like jewelry. I'm not doing anything unless somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I need something." But somebody called me the other day and said, I sold her a 2.23 carat round diamond. So, and with diamond bands and everything, total cost was like $25,000.
Well, I'll tell you what, next time I need a 2-carat diamond, you're on the call. Expect a Facebook message. We'll,
listen, if you need a 1-carat diamond, I got you, man. You're not going to pay full price. I'll tell you that. Anything you need, you're not paying full price.
So you've got 8 jobs, so you've got multiple streams of income, well protected in that. What are you, so as you're fundraising, what are you actually fundraising for the church? So it's like salary, it sounds like you don't need that, but what's your desires and hopes?
Right. Yeah. Salary isn't the goal at all for me. I was talking with my people last night. If I had $4 million in the bank, I would still be here parking cars. Like I'd still be doing this. I'd still be traveling because this is important. What we do is great. And I need to be out here. I need to be in the streets. I need to be with people. I need to be constantly, I need to be around people. So our goal right now is we want to get a food truck situation going so that I can go to churches and cook lots of meat for lots of events. When there's a crisis like a hurricane comes through, I want to be able to go and smoke meat on the street and feed families. And then I need to hire somebody to do my social media because I am so busy that I do not have time to post as much as what I need to. And then that's going to be cheap because I shouldn't say cheap. It's just going to be inexpensive because I have friends. And then my goal is there's a lot of church planners out there who honestly are struggling. And I want to start providing them with smokers because I believe that if I give a church planner a smoker and I set them loose and I teach them how to smoke, and I say, hey, go out into your community and start feeding people. Find a place that you can set up where you can feed people, and I'll teach you how to do it. And these people could make, $4,000 to $10,000 on a weekend. And then they're not struggling anymore while they're trying to plant a church. And then they can feed their church with the smoker that we provide. Or I have a bunch of friends that are in campus ministry on college campuses. So why are you not smoking food out on the street on Friday, Saturday night and feeding these jokers? So that's what we're fundraising for. And, because we want to be, God has called me to be a light in the darkness. And so I'm going to keep lighting that fire.
No, I love your. I totally blew past the pun. Thank you for drawing attention to that so that it would just sit so much better in this conversation. Man, I love your heart with the multiplication aspect, the helping the campus guys, helping the planters, and the idea of making $10,000 smoking meat on a weekend is really interesting to me. So maybe a offline conversation, but when you've talked with planters or people, like, have you cast that vision of the possibilities? Like, would they be receptive to that? Have you heard people that are like, yes, I want to do that? Let's figure it out. What's been some of those responses?
Oh yeah, I've already talked with some campus missionaries. I've talked with different church planters, and they say that's a genius idea. That'd be something that I'd be willing to do. That's something that they would welcome. And there's a lot of times we don't do enough to help people who are planting. We don't do. It's like there's different organizations that'll say, yeah, it's so great that you're planting. Yay. But when it comes down to it, these guys are going into debt. They're putting stuff for their church on their personal credit card, and they're struggling, and their marriages are starting to deteriorate. And then we're closing churches as fast as we're launching them. And churches aren't lasting more than 5 years. Well, if we can help them financially, that's one major hurdle that's taken out. What's the percentage? Let's just random percentage that I'll throw out without any type of research whatsoever. It's taken out 50%. Financial will take you out. It's a 50% chance that if your finances are bad, you'll close. So, I mean, if we can help these guys and girls out, that's everything. I had a friend who just closed his church plant after 5 years, and I was furious. And not with him, but just because he didn't have the help he needed. He didn't have the prayer support that he needed. He didn't have the people around him that would lock arms with him and said, all right, man, nah, I'm right here. Like, we're good. And, I went to a church planting conference years back, and this guy was talking about, when you're planting a church, you're sitting out here, and it's like you're when you're shipwrecked off the island of Patmos, and everybody's holding on the wood, and and you're just trying to stay afloat, and everybody's standing up clapping, and I'm like, well, the dude preaching right now is in a boat. He's in a boat. You're the one in the water. You're the one holding on to shrapnel. That dude's in a boat. And as long as I have a boat, I'm not letting the people around me drown. And that's something that's my heart. If I have a boat, I'm making sure people don't drown. And I don't have a big boat, but I got life preservers, and I'm willing to throw them out. And I got life-saving rings, and I'm willing to throw them out and attach them to my boat and help get them to safety, because we're called to be capital C church. Again, I'm not building my kingdom. We're building the kingdom of God. And we need to be out here helping people and making sure people aren't drowned, and making sure their marriages aren't failing, making sure they're not running around with, getting into affairs, stuff like that, man. Like, it's too prevalent. So we need to help people.
So you've done, man, your heart to do, to reach, to help the church, to help the planter. That's beautiful. It sounds like you have a history of planting and have done that historically. And so, you understand that world very well. I know we've talked about different expressions of church. Maybe one that doesn't necessarily look like the Sunday morning. There's a lot of digital that's involved in barbecue, but there's also not a lot of digital. You're talking very practical and very relational kind of face on, where you just really are writing an interesting balance between physical and not with Barbecue Church and Barbecue Assemblies of God. Are there other ideas, or are there other things that you're thinking about, or other expressions? Like when you look at other expressions, what are you thinking as an innovative guy? What are you thinking? What are you dreaming about?
Man, there's so many different things that you could jump into, you know. But anything that will pull people in a community around each other, that will pull people together so that you can do life together, I think is worth jumping into. Even if you're talking breakfast church and it's just a bunch of women who love breakfast, who are going to get together for breakfast once a month and talk about Jesus and do life together, then let's do it. Other people call it small groups, and that's fine, but can we rally around breakfast? Can we rally around brunch? And, can we rally around cars? Like, man, I love cars. Oh man, let's get together. Let's put our cars out in the back of an old Kmart parking lot and let's hang out and show off our cars and pop the hood and let's sit there and let's do life and let's get into people's lives and then see where they're at on their faith journey and see if we can move forward in that. Like, let's show off cars, through videos, and let's talk about the different aspects of a car and how it pertains to faith and, walking it out and moving forward with Jesus. It's, if you're passionate about it, I think it works. Barbecue just happens to be my thing.
What is discipleship? What is evangelism? Like, what do these things look like for you? So you're preaching, you're feeding down to, no pun intended on the feeding, but you're pushing information down, you're teaching down. What does like multiplication or spiritual development look like within the group? Have you gotten to some of that yet?
Yes, we're actually building out a bunch of Bible reading plans because we've gotten requests. So when people give their lives to Jesus, we use text in church. And so you text Journey to my number and you get a 30-day devotional. That's actually written by one of my really good friends. And so you get that. Well, then once that's over, people have been messaging me like, I need more. And so we've started to develop a Bible reading plan and a devotional system so that we can continue to reach people through that. And then that's also what we're going to utilize social media for. And extra, in our website, just throwing out extra videos that are discipleship based. And I have a guy who's willing to do it. I just need to give him the stuff that he needs to be able to build it. And then he'll handle most of the discipleship side of it. And him and my mom, because my mom is a part of my team. So
I want to unpack the mom here in a second, because that's interesting. But what you've done is you've basically partnered with somebody else. You're busy. That discipleship may not be a strength of yours, but it's a necessary component. So you're bringing in someone else to manage that piece, and that person, or even your mom included, is more passionate about that and is taking over some of those responsibilities.
Yeah.
So talk to me about mom.
If you come to the barbecue battle in Fort Lauderdale, you'll meet her.
I cannot wait.
Oh yeah. So my mom is 57 years old. Which if you start doing math, you're like, hold on, how old is Andre? Right. My mom had me when she was 14 years old. And so my mom is one of my best friends. She just is. Always has been. So, and my mom is, my mom is a prayer person. She prays heavy. She loves her kids, and she's always set us up for success. And so this is, she wanted to be a part of Barbecue Church, her and her husband, and they are. They help me with my thought processes. They help me think through, like, what's next? What do we need to be doing next? And she helps me not get too into the clouds. She pulls me back and goes, Andre, you need to stop. And, and I don't just brush her off because she's my mom. I listen. But no one prays for me more than my mom and my wife. And so my mom's on the team, and she's a fireball.
So, but did she what does she contribute? Not technological, I would imagine. Relational, just mom able to slap you upside the head and tell you to stop. Like, what's her contribution?
She's the prayer person. She's the prayer person. She's the discipleship thought of, did you think about this? Did you pray about this yet? Okay, so you're doing this. Okay, no, we need to pray about that. Or, I was thinking, you start thinking through okay, we need to try, we need to try and get a truck, and get this whole truck situation going. So I'm like, well, Mom, what if I just reach out and say, hey, if 1,000 people give this much money, we'll be there. And she goes, Andre, I don't think that that's wise, because that leads back to that old school church vibe of where that I used to sit in these services where people would do, here's the $1,000 line, here's the $100 line. And my mom goes, that comes off as manipulation, and that's not who we are. And so you're not doing that. And I'm like, you're right. And so she really helps me see things differently, because I'll just start running. And she goes, no, let's pray about this. No, let's think about this. And so she kind of helps me bounce things off of her. And,
she keeps you grounded.
Yes, very much so.
Man, if somebody wanted to get started doing this, not barbecue church, maybe sushi. I don't. If somebody wanted to get started with missional imagination, doing some crazy idea, what are some obstacles? What are some challenges? How do they start?
Pray. If God is calling you to do it, and it's in your heart to do, and it's the thing that He's speaking, then you do it. You figure it out. You figure out what your platform's going to be. You figure out how you're going to do it, and you write out the steps, and then you just start walking it out. That's it. Don't wait for the money. Don't wait for all this. Figure out what you have in your hand, what's available to you, and do it with what you have. And that's it. And God does the rest. Because if this all fails, if the sermon only gets 2 views, somebody got something. If no one gave their life to the Lord, at least you gave 100%. At least you were obedient with what you had.
Do you consider yourself an influencer?
I mean, I have influence in certain circles, so I mean, maybe.
It's interesting. We've been talking about the word influencer, whether or not it fits, and so I apologize. It's funny. Your response is actually what I was expecting. You have influence, but influencer means something else. Maybe, I don't know. It's been a conversation we've had behind closed doors. So
I mean, most of the people that label themselves influencers aren't the type of people I want to be around. So they're the type of people that just if they have the label influencer in their title, they're not really the type of people that I rock with. So when I hear it, it's almost it's a term that I'm reserved about. I'm like, I don't really like people that are called that. So it might be a little bit more why I'm kind of more hesitant with it, because people what is Elon Musk an influencer? Would he be considered an influencer?
I mean, I would.
He's not a guy I would hang out with.
Not a fan of Teslas. You abandoning Twitter?
Oh no, I'll have one. I'll have one someday because my wife wants it. But Elon and I are going to be going out for brunch.
So you think there's a prestige or a class difference
it's not a class difference. There's an attitude about an influencer that just bothers me.
Okay.
It just bothers me. It's not that you're a bad person. It's that in order for you to influence, you have to influence in a certain way. And that type of influence isn't the type of influence that I want to have. I don't want that type of influence. I want to bring
barbecue to the world.
I want to, yes, like, but I want to set people up to meet Jesus. Like I'm just a connection point. I'm like, hey, listen, I got this relationship with this person over here that can help change your life, and he wants a relationship with you because the relationship was broken, and so I just need you to meet him real quick. That's my job. I want influence there. So the other type of influence is, it's not what I want.
No, I think that's good. We've been wrestling with some of the negative connotations of the word influencer. Like, is it good? Is it bad? Is it helpful? We have to explain our interpretation of influencer. Everybody has influence. We're all influencers, and some people understand that. Some people, it's not worth the fight. And so it's been interesting. Just our internally, some of the conversations we've had that. But I really appreciate your vibe here. Hey, so like if somebody wanted to get connected to Barbecue Church, Barbecue Assemblies of God, where are they finding you?
I mean, so our main website is Barbecue Church, spelled out barbecue with a C, the real way, the proper English way. It's barbecuechurch.com. And then there's myeventprogram.com/Andre is a really good one because it shows you.
Or myevent.program.
My event program. Yeah, myeventprogram.com/Andre is one of the best because it has all of my information on there.
Very cool. All right, hey man, listen, as
literally everything that I do.
I know I've loved this conversation. This has been more, honestly, it's been a little more free flowing than the typical, and man, you've got the great vibe, kind of hanging out. Literally in the hotel, getting ready to go do a job here in a little bit, but excited to talk with you, man, about Barbecue Church, about different expressions, thinking outside the box, innovation, and just going for it. Man, what an inspiration! What a story you've had putting this thing together and making it happen. And it's exciting to see how God is using this like in real time, just even to impact people. And people that you don't even know. So that's really cool. Hey, as we're landing the plane here, any closing thoughts?
It's funny because I'm just trying to think through. I'm trying to think through your audience, and it's most likely a bunch of these guys and girls who are just trying to do random stuff that everyone else may not even like and may not think is actually viable, or they don't think, oh, that's not ministry. And I just say, look, do what you're called to do. Just do what you're called to do. You don't need approval from anybody. You don't need anybody to co-sign you. All you need is you and Jesus moving forward. Make sure you're praying. Make sure you're in the Word. And make sure you're doing exactly what He's called you to do. And that's all you can do. That's it. And just don't get hung up on everyone else and what everyone else is doing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to look like them. Everyone else wants cookie cutter, but most likely you weren't made to be cookie cutter. So just keep going. And then in the end, people will come back and say, I knew them when, or I knew this was going to work. But you'll remember the conversations and have grace. And I'm speaking to myself because I'm the guy that I remember those conversations and I don't want to have grace. I want to tell everybody to keep that same energy they had when they told me it wasn't going to work. But we need to be a gracious people. So be gracious and keep fighting the fight and watch God do things in people's lives, and let's keep leading people to Jesus.
And enjoy some smoked sushi at some point. That'd be good.
I'm telling you, you're going to get pictures of this.
Awesome. So yeah, hey, we're going to hang out in Fort Lauderdale here early next year. Excited about that. But hey, we're going to land the plane Friday. It's been a great conversation. Andre, the man with 8 jobs, including lead pastor of Barbecue Church. Man, thanks for jumping on the podcast. But like I said, we're going to land the plane. For Andre, this is Jeff with the Church Digital and a bunch of other stuff. Thanks for jumping on the show here. We'll see you next time on the pod. Have a good day.